Forest landowners in America own a significant part of this country, but very little efforts have been expended in reaching these landowners. Much of the training that has taken place for people in forestry have focused on professionals, people who work for the land management agencies at the state and federal level. As a professor in forestry, I thought it was important not only to educate my students, but also landowners who are forest owners.
I was very fortunate when I came to have associated with Dr. Fraser, who had a project which was to assist underserved landowners for more effective management of their land and available resources.
So I reached out and got links with Mr. John Finnerson, Dr. Fraser, and other personnel that's been in this, linked up with this organization. So they came in on August the 29th and the 30th. We set up workshops. A&M University provided food and everything for the center and everything there. We've done those. Dr. Fraser and his crew has really brought more of the African Americans, which is mostly the elderly people that are in this rural community, that's trying to want to know more now about their land. And like I said, give the praises to Dr. Fraser and Tennessee Forestry Division to bringing this to this community. And I have to give him those praises. And now the younger generation somewhat now, a few of those are more involved too now also. We just went through a deed and title search, and so they want to know more about their boundaries and stuff, things like that. So we really have people interested in those things now.
African American landowners had historically been ignored, deliberate or inadvertent. There was very few connections between them and the people who were trained in forestry, or them and the opportunities. There's a lot of reasons why African Americans do not trust outsiders. So one of the first things you have to do is establish trust with them. And the way to do that is to have somebody who they trust. Over time, you build up that relationship with a few individuals that is communicated through the community.
We was at a church one time. I was like, okay, I go to church to go to church. Never really had a meeting like this at the church. And I remember the preacher getting up saying, well, we're not really famous for much, but Tina Turner is from here. I remember that. I was like, oh, I know exactly where I am now. So.
The second step is ensuring that the community is involved. There are people in the community who are involved in thinking through what needs to be done and how it needs to be done and where it needs to be done. We visited the communities, we talked to people, got a sense of what they thought was important, then identify a group within the community to organize the location, the meals, the accommodation. And the idea wasn't to touch everybody, but to be able to communicate a way of doing things so that people might retain it after you leave the community, because they may think of organizing in a similar way and doing similar things. Spend time talking about some of the things that they consider very important in a place that they consider very comfortable, eating together, walking the land together, talking about some of the issues, and at the end identifying what they have on the land and what they would like to do on the land, and identify the people who may best be able to work with them and establish some contact with those people. So this was done in about 15 different locations across 6 states.
Develop a process to increase the landowners' interest group membership. And with that, the action to take, we were going to contact a group of ministers, and all of those ministers in the area all go to a particular organization or group. And what I wanted to do is get with each one of them, allow me to come in and make a presentation to them to try to get them then to get with their members so that we could increase the membership. And this is basically what it says. The action we're going to take, the action taken to achieve the task, and here comments on the current task. It's kind of a roadmap that we can identify what we want to do, track what we're going to do with information and status as we proceed along.
What is very important in the way we do the workshops is we get people to talk about themselves. The stories you've read about, but this is where you actually experience it, where people talk about it.
I was born and raised in Crenshaw as well. My mother and father bought 80 acres of land over on Troy Highway back in the 40s. We were not very good farmers, but we raised a lot of vegetables and sold a lot of vegetables. And we ran a wood farm, a wood yard rather. We supplied Laverne with vegetables and wood and farmed on the side, actually. And we've all of us left and did other things. I left and went to college in the mid-50s and lived in Atlanta, which is where I live now. But I have always had a vision for that land. We tried some things. We tried goat farming. I bought some goats and put up an electric fence. Somebody told me to do that. And I said, you know, they'll be fine. You know, they'll keep the kudzu down, at least. And my brother called me one day. He said, you better come over here and get those goats. They're all over the county. So.
The sacrifices their families had to make to acquire the land and to retain the land over time. That sense of independence came from land, because land allow you to be free in some ways, from the rest of society. The third thing we had to do is make sure that the local agencies were well represented. The fourth part was trying to get people to recognize that this can continue after you left. So building that relationship with the local agencies and the community one-on-one with each other, I think helped to deepen the kind of relationships that were necessary, that allowed this work to continue after we had left.
As I said before, our people are being destroyed because of what? Lack of knowledge. Please, let's work together. And I know you don't worry about our accents. You didn't ask me where you from. You didn't ask this dude where he's from. You embarrassed him, not embarrassed, embraced him as a brother, and we are doing the same. I'm from Kilimanjaro, Tanzania. My mama is a coffee grower. She's still growing coffee, and she loves you because I love you too. Thank you.
Worked with Dr. Frazier for many years, and I facilitated the workshops, 2 in North Carolina and 2 in South Carolina, and facilitated the workshops with Dr. Dasse and Janelle Sargent when they were doing the mobile information technology workshops. We were in about 7 or 8 different states across the South. So I've had an opportunity in my experiences to be that person on the ground that you would go out to get professional forestry advice to prepare a forest management plan for you. And my experience over 20 years with 2 different state agencies really helped prepare me to put together the best possible workshops that we could for the folks that we were working with in the states that I was involved in.
It was very evident that the landowners were interested in moving to the next level. Estate planning, for example, development of forest management plans, and so on. And so this provided the motivation for myself, Dr. Fraser, and one of our colleagues, Dr. Gwawali, to get together and identify resources which would assist us.
So I see evidence where there is much more engagement of minorities, particularly African Americans, in land ownership meetings. There are a lot more African American trained foresters.
I think we should follow up individually to go to those folks and say to them, well, you drew out this map and said what you want to do. What have you done with that? And then you call back 3 months later and say, have you completed this? One thing we do in North Carolina, we make an annual visit to Washington, D.C. We talk to our senators, our congressional folks. We let them know that we exist. Because a lot of your black congressfolk, they don't know you exist.
Whilst the focus is on African Americans, the way we do it, how we do it, and what we do is relevant across America in all segments. Rural people tend to have limited resources, like African Americans. Many of them live in fairly isolated areas and therefore tend to be reclusive or exclusive. Many of them are not being provided a service like African Americans. Therefore, some of the things we do and how we do it is very relevant and transferable in dealing with the communities across America. Not only for rural whites, but particularly for the growing Latino, Hispanic population that in large part are rural. Because many are involved in the agricultural sector and the forestry sector. And eventually they're going to own land, not only work the land, but and programs will have to be developed to address their needs.
There's always strength in numbers. If we continue to work in isolation, if we do not partner with others, if we do not network with others, particularly persons who have similar perspective, persons who have similar challenges, persons who have similar ethnic background, if we do not partner with others and try to harness resources, in trying to access resources, in trying to gain additional knowledge and experience, I think we are likely to fail.
You need to know your neighbors. You need to know who's on this side, this side, and that side. Because they know you. They know your car, and they know what you look like. And they know your property better than you do. Because they walk on it. When you're not there, they walk on it and they take care. They probably got a deer stand right now, checking in. All right? I want you guys to know your neighbors. Get to know them. So what if y'all was mad at each other 5 years ago? When you go to the doctor, he's looking after your property. Here come a fire. Somebody just threw a cigarette out. He has a choice. He can call the volunteer department right then, or he can let it burn. That's a choice he has. And if y'all are mad at each other for 2 or 3 months about who cow got over who line, your property is gone. And you're going to have to start over. And that's a lot. That's what we've been talking about today, right? Starting over. All right? You have a choice. Get to know them. Go get some sweet tea. Take them a piece of cake if you have to. I don't care what you do. Let them borrow a cup of sugar. You know, go to the revival. You say you live next to a church, go to the revival. Get to know these people.
So any farmer who is out there who have not yet decided, who have not yet gotten involved in a group, in a cooperative group, in some extension based initiative, I would strongly encourage them to reconsider.
Well, to be quite frank, when I started out, I saw a need and I was addressing it. There's a lot of love in this, what we did, because people really seemed to enjoy me and enjoy what I was doing and thought I was really contributing. And so they opened their hearts and their doors to me, and so I feel very welcome. I'm an immigrant, and to be here and to feel welcome, especially among people who are so reclusive and at times exclusive, that there's a deep sense of satisfaction